Okay, guys. So we're back again in project management. So this is a continuation. Before this, we've talked about the precedence diagram and calculated the early start, earliest finish, latest start, and latest finish. So um, next is we want to talk about total fluid. So total fluid. In each activities, there would be some leeway in the scheduling of activities and or and some of the activities doesn't have any extra days or leeway. In some activities you have leeway, and in another activity you might not have any extra days. So this leeway is a measure of time available, the available time for given activity above and beyond its estimated duration. So basically it's an extra days for that activity. So that is called a leeway or a float lah. In project management called float. This extra time is called float. And two classifications of float, which are total float and free float. So the total float of an activity is obtained by subtracting. You subtract, you minus the ES time, earliest time, from the latest start time. So there you will get your total float lah. So there you will get the total float. And also you can get the total float from subtracting the earliest finish from the latest finish. So once the activity times have been computed on the precedence diagram, values of total float are easily computed and may be noted on the network if desired. You can highlight it in your precedence diagram. So an activity with zero total float has no spare time. Zero float, zero spare time, and is therefore one of the operations that controls the project completion time. These are the activities that control the project completion time. So for this reason, activities with zero total floats are called critical activities. These activities are critical as they have no extra days. As you can see, for example, in this precedence diagram here, activity of guardrail, the ES is 55 and the LS is 57. So 57 minus 55, you have a 2 days float. You have 2 days float. You have extra 2 days, so you can start late, at least the latest at day 57. And another activities is the painting activities. As you can see, the earliest start is similar to the latest start. So there, or you calculate based on the latest start, latest finish minus early finish. So you also get the same result. So the result is 0 day float. So which means this is the critical activity. 0 day float, critical activity. Let's look at another example. Saw joints. Saw joints. Uh, 59 latest start minus by uh, earliest start 52 day 52, so you get your days of float is 7 days. So these two example is the activity that has float or leeway. So these activities are not critical, and the critical activity will be pain. This is your critical activity. Critical path. Still on the topic of total float. So previous slide we talk about critical activity. A critical activity is quickly identified as one whose time start ES LS are equal. So the start times are equal. So the activity is classified as critical activity. Also equal are the two finish time. The activity will also have the same finish time EF and LF. which is at the right box of right to the right of activity box. So in figure 5.1 discloses the 18 activities. As you can um, highlight yourself, you can review all the 18 activities which have a zero total float. So plotting this on figure discloses that these 18 activities form a continuous path. It's a continuous path of activity from project beginning until the end. So this chain of critical activity is called the critical path. So this is what gives the name to our tools here, critical path method. So you want to find the critical path, which consists of a chain of activities that has that have zero float. That have zero float. So the critical path usually is indicated in the diagram in some distinctive way. You want to highlight the path. So usually we put red or bold lines, as you can see here. The path here is bold line up until here. So you highlight the chain of activities so that people in the project team would know that the path is the activities are critical in defining the completion date of the project. So if the time durations of activities forming a continuous path were to be added for each of the many possible routes through the network, a number of different tools will be obtained. So the largest of these tools is the critical. So the largest will be the critical or the minimum time for overall project completion. So if the total times for all network paths in figure 5.1 were to be obtained, it will be found that the longest path is the critical path, and this is already identified using the zero total floats, that is total durations, which is 70 days. So all the activities within that path or the longest path and the critical path would have zero total floats, and the total duration will be the total duration for the whole project. So to find the critical path is to determine the longest path. Must determine the longest path within your precedence network diagram. There can be many critical paths, but the path shall be continuous and not intermittent. So you might have a path that consists of 5 uh, critical activities that has zero float, but the path is cut short or consists of, it doesn't continuously connected throughout the project. So there will not be the critical path for the project. So you need to find the path, the critical path. All the activities are interlinked and it is continuous and has zero total float. So that is your critical path. If the activities do have zero float but not connected from the beginning until the end of the project, so that path would not be the critical path. But the activities are critical activities. Percentage of critical activities in example figure 5.1, a number of critical activity divided by total number of activity. So you will get your percentage, how many activities that are critical to the project. For example, 15 activities out of 40 activities, so you get 38% of critical activities. The way you can classify it is that the percentage is high. If the percentage is high for a small project, so the project will be very critical, and the activities will be too critical. So in terms of size of project, in example 5.1, building the bridges, the percentage is quite high as the size of project is small. So generally, we limit only to 20% activities that are critical. So any delay in this 20% or in these critical activities would have would have a lower effect on the overall completion of the project. So any delay in the critical activity automatically lengthens the critical path. If you delay any activities that is considered as that is classified as critical activity, so you will, you shall, you would, it's for sure you extend the duration of the project. Uh, so the way we can manage this is to change your sequence of activity, and also to add more duration on certain activities, if it is possible to extend the duration, if the and the ending date has been fixed by the contract, so the sequence of work need to be um, changed, and also you might need to pay more attention towards the critical path toward the critical activity. So it helps you emphasize, it helps you concentrate on what are the path that are critical for your project. Next, let's discuss about free float. So free float is another category of spare time. The free float of an activity is found by subtracting its earliest finish time, the EF time, from the earliest of the ES times. EF minus ES, earliest finish minus earliest start of the activities directly following. So to illustrate how free floats are computed, consider activity 260 in figure 5.1, which shows the earliest finish activity, earliest finish time is day 35. So earliest finish is day 35. Activity 320 is the only following activity. So you have here the succeeding activities, which is set girders. So set girders, activity 320 is the only following activities. So in this simple case, the free float of activity 260 is the difference. The difference we subtract difference between ES earliest start of 320 and the earliest finish of 260. You get 43 minus 35, which is 8 days. So 43 here, 43, 43 minus 35, earliest finish minus earliest start. So there you will get your free float. That is your free float. So free float, uh, basically it provides you extra time for you to finish. For example, in the previous example, activity 260 can finish the latest by day 43, or you have an extra 8 days for you to finish the work. So that is your free float. Earliest finish of the following activity minus the earliest, the earliest start of the following activities, EF, following activities minus ES, earliest start of the preceding activity. So there you get your free float. So basically how many days you have extra for you to finish your work without affecting the total overall uh, completion of a project, and also without affecting the following activity to start, without delaying the following activity to start. So next, next scenario is where you have more than one following activity. You have extra task following your preceding activity. So what you need, how do you calculate the free float? So when activity has more than one following activity, and the following activity with the earliest ES. So the ES of the following activity controls the time, controls the completion date. So an example is activity 90. Example is activity 90 with earliest finish of day 6 here. So your EF is day 6. So the following activities, which are 110 and 120, 110, 120 here, with ES, earliest start is 15 for 110 and day 6 for 120. So the free float of the activity 90 is therefore 6, 0, 6 minus 6, because we take the earliest, as we highlighted here, the early start. So by comparing between 15 and 6, so you determine that the earliest will be 6, day 6. So day 6 become the day that controls uh, the free float. So in this case, there is no free float, zero free float. If you mistakenly choose 15, then you will get your free float as 9, but it is wrong actually. So that would be wrong. 9 days. Actually, the activities doesn't have any free float. So let's take a look at this scenario. If you say that if you wrongly define this activity 90 having 9 days, so if the project if the activity is delayed by 9 days, so your activity will be finished by day 15. So basically, when activity 90 finish at day 15, it will cause delay to activity 120. So that is a defect if you wrongly determine the free float days for each activities. So it's better to be sure, especially if the activity has two succeeding activities, as in this slide, example in this slide. So we can summarize it. The free float of an activity is the amount by which the completion of the activity can be deferred. You can delay the work can be deferred without delaying the early start of the following activities. So that is a free float. When activity has extra days, you can delay without affecting the early start of the following activities. And or the following activities or affecting any other activity on network. So the free float is the amount of days that allows the work to be deferred without affecting the following activities or affecting the any other activity in the network. So to illustrate activity 270, which has a free float of 18 days, 18 days can have its completion delayed by up to 18 days. So you can delay by up to 18 days because of the late start, extended duration, or any combination thereof, without affecting any other activity. So these are, as I highlight here, these are the maybe some unforeseen circumstances that cause late start. You start late, or you have any weather effect, so you start late, or you need to extend your duration of the work. So as for example, activity 270 can uh, start late by 18 days without affecting any of the activity in the network or the following activity. So that is the importance of determining the free float of activities. So you know how many days you are allowed. You can classify the activities whether it is critical or non-critical having float, but you also need to quantify how many float there is for planning purposes. In any case, in any extra circumstances that happen at site that need to extend the duration of the work or late start the work. So these are um, important tools for you to uh, master and helps in you planning your work. So that will be all. Should you have any question, you can come and see me and directly ask me. We will continue on our next videos or lecture on lag uh, the relationship between activities. So far we have discussed only on the finish start activities. Basically, you have uh, three different types. You have start to start relationship between activities, finish to start to finish, and also finish to finish activities. So we we will discuss that on the next video. So that's all for this video, and thank you for your attention.